Good morning and welcome everyone to our Next Level Growth Small Business and Capital Summit. I'm Sonia Blake, President and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance. And feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We're going to have a very interactive and fun session today and very informative. And so we want to encourage a lot of interaction in the chat today. The Valley Economic Alliance, for those of you who may not know, is a wonderful collaboration of government, nonprofit, and business leaders, all working together to promote economic development in our 5-city San Fernando Valley region. Our region includes the cities of Burbank, Calabasas, Glendale, the San Fernando Valley region of the city of Los Angeles, and the city of San Fernando. We're here to help employers grow, to help job seekers connect to training and jobs, to help developers connect to parcels of land in the valley to redevelop, and to help visitors connect with our local attractions, amenities, and local shopping. Today, we are focusing on how we can support local businesses to grow. And this is just the beginning of the ways we help businesses increase revenues, cut costs, leverage real estate, access capital, and find qualified employees. So if you or someone you know needs business assistance, help connecting to resources, I encourage you to please enroll in our business assistance program. It's completely free and confidential, and we can help you to go to the next level in your business. Also, a quick note, one of the projects that we're working on is for employers who might like to advise the educational community, our local colleges and universities, high schools, about the skills and qualifications that they are needing from graduates entering the workforce. Business and industry can inform our educational partners, and the Alliance is helping facilitate those kinds of relationships. To do that, you can register for our Workforce of the Future directory. I just popped a link in the chat about that so that you can participate and benefit from that and be a part of the solution if you would like to and have insights to share. So many other things the Alliance is working on. We're supporting housing development. We're convening committees on regional planning, and we have a variety of convenings and programs in the future that you can learn about by going to our website at thevalley.net/events. So at this time, I'd just like to thank all of our board members who are on the call, particularly our board chair, Fred Gaines, and acknowledge them. I want to acknowledge any elected officials that we have with us on the Zoom call, and I encourage you raise your virtual hand so we can acknowledge you if you are here with us or you are a staffer from an elected office. We really couldn't do this important work without our board, without our public leaders, and our sponsors. We couldn't do this important work without our sponsors, and we're very, very thankful for the generosity of our sponsors that enable us to make our programs continue to be free. In particular, I'd like to thank Wells Fargo as our presenting sponsor this morning. I'd also like to thank LADWP, Bank of America, Comerica Bank, Citizens Business Bank, Mission Valley Bank, and Marble Bridge Funding Group for their valuable support. Every little bit helps, and these are the ones who are doing the heavy lifting to make these programs available to all of us, and so we are very, very thankful. Now, I'd like to have join me in welcoming you to today's program. I'd like to introduce Alliance board member Steve Contreras, Vice President, Regional Banking District, Senior Manager, North Valley Hills District of the Southland Valley region of Wells Fargo Bank. And thank you so much, Stephen, for all of your wonderful support for today, all year long, and for joining us today. So Stephen Contreras.
Absolutely, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sonia. So as Sonia mentioned, my name is Stephen Contreras. I'm a district manager for Wells Fargo Bank. I currently oversee about $3 billion in assets and support 11 locations in the areas of Chatsworth, Northridge, Granada Hills, Pacoima, San Fernando, and the southernmost portion of the Santa Clarita Valley. I'm a Valley boy, born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, and reside in Northridge with my wife and 4 children. I honorably welcome all of you to the Next Level Small Business Growth and Capital Summit hosted by the Valley Economic Alliance. I currently sit on the board of the Alliance and possess great passion to help the lifeblood of our economy, the small businesses. I'm excited to be here on behalf of Wells Fargo. The company's commitment to helping our customers succeed financially is a critical part of our business strategy. The bank believes in being present and proactive in its neighborhoods and works to make a difference in society by promoting economic development and self-sufficiency through community development, financial education, cash donations and grants, and through the efforts of its team member volunteers. Wells Fargo contributes to the long-term success and sustainability of the towns and cities where its employees live and work. In 2020, Wells Fargo invested more than $475 million across the country through charitable contributions to support causes and programs, many of which are related to housing affordability, small business growth, financial health, and sustainability and environmental justice, among others. I encourage all of you to visit our website, wellsfargo.com, where you will find a wealth of resources to support your small business. These include creating a cash flow projection, planning and operations, business insights, healthcare practices, and women-owned business resources, just to name a few. I'm proud of our contributions and our supportive programs and organizations such as the Valley Economic Alliance. Throughout my tenure with Wells Fargo, which I can't believe is 25 years this year, I've always strived to provide access to capital to small business and the resources in order for them to thrive. Approximately 20 years ago, Wells Fargo opened a branch in Pacoima, the second bank in the community, where I was a manager, and it was there where I started doing just that. Once again, welcome and thank you to all of our participants, sponsors, and to the Alliance for hosting such an important event. And Sonia, I'll turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stephen. We really appreciate you and our partnership. And so glad you could be with us today. And thank you for your leadership on our board. So wonderful. We have some great prizes for participation in today's session. At the end of our program, we'll present a drawing of a $150 gift certificate to the Horseless Carriage Restaurant at Galpin Motors, one of our supporters and board members as well. Just register in the chat for your chance to win. Just put your name in the chat, and then we'll be able to go through the chat and pick a winner at the end of today's program. So in another sense, everyone's a winner today, because everyone who attends today will receive follow-up information about how you can receive a free Loop player for your business. Loop is one of our new investors, and we're super excited about what they're contributing to our network. A Loop player provides information and entertainment for your clients at no cost to you in your place of business, and is a great way to add value for your customers, animate your public space, and convey important information about your business, about the world, about things that are of interest to your customers. So you'll be able to see information about that. The team will be dropping information in the chat about that, so you can learn more, and then we'll follow up after today, and you'll be able to get your free Loop player like we did at the Alliance, which is a lot of fun. So, and now for today's presenters. So very excited about growth for our businesses, our local employers in particular, and sales is one way to start, right? Selling, just getting customers in the door, and not just leads, but converting leads into customers, paying customers. So our first presentation on sales tools for explosive growth, we're really pleased to have with us today Bill Jaros of the Zoo 360, a media, creative, and production company based right in Calabasas. So Bill works mostly with mid-sized and large companies, a variety of industries and municipalities on marketing strategy, budgeting, as well as customer-facing and business-to-business communications. So we're really excited about the information that he has to share with us. He used to be in advertising at the Daily News and at Newsday, so he really understands that aspect of things and how to get the most from your advertising dollars. He graduated from State University of New York at Albany with a Bachelor of Science degree in economics, so he really understands the business side of things as well. And I'm proud to say and happy to say that Bill is a member of the Alliance's Economic Development Committee and is the designer of our Housing Creates Communities Housing Development Campaign. I'm going to pop information about that housing campaign in the chat, so you'll be familiar with that as well. And I'll have Bill go ahead and take it from here and share with us some marketing insights. Thank you, Bill, for being with us. There, let's get you off mute and then we'll be all set.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. My name is Bill. I'm with the Zoo 360. We're actually two companies in one. We're a marketing agency. We're also a video and TV production company. And as Sonia said, we have a huge, very diverse client base. We work with a lot of national brands that you know, like eHarmony, Angie's List, CBS and Paramount TV. We have a lot of local campaigns running on TV, Powell Electric, Builders Surplus, Southern California Hospital, Marina Del Rey Hospital, Jacoby Myers Law Firm. Probably about 25% of our business you'll never see because it's business to business video. And instead of doing a PowerPoint, I really wanted to kind of tell you some real world stories, about clients that I've worked with, about our business. And each of them is going to have a little nugget of wisdom that we've learned over the years. First story I want to talk about is back in the day, we had this client, Snow Summit in Bear Mountain up Big Bear Mountain Resorts. And we were hired just to handle media for them. We had an incredible relationship. We, not only business-wise, but personally, and we were doing a great job. And then about a year into the relationship, they wanted to change their creative. They wanted to do new commercials, and they were looking at all these companies and not even considering us. And I was really hurt. I was shocked. And so I actually called the client. I asked them, hey, we're doing a great job. Why aren't you considering us to do the TV commercials? And she asked me, you do TV commercials? And that was a huge lesson. And, your network is, everyone in your network needs to know everything that you do. Even a direct client that we're working with didn't even realize, they hired us for media, but they didn't realize we did commercials. And especially for a small business, your network it's the low-hanging fruit. It's the easiest way to acquire business. It's the least costly way to acquire business because these are people that know you, they work with you, they trust you. So everyone in your network really needs to know what it is that you do, what it is that you offer. And another story I want to talk about is when we first started our business, we were like 100% focused on automotive retail dealerships. And we systematized the business. We kind of had this formula of promotions that worked. And as we grew, we were testing, and we were able to really fine tune which promotions worked. We kind of had an idea what kind of results clients were going to get. And then we got a new client, and we pitched them, and all the results we're having for other dealers in the same market with the same brand. We did the exact same promotions with them, no results at all. And the lesson we learned there is the marketing is only as good as the sales processes behind it. So, we had one client, we could do something, anything we did worked, other clients it didn't. And it's all about the sales process. And that is, it's overlooked. It's the most important thing. It's like, who is answering your phone? Are they able to communicate, the benefits of your business? Is your website dialed in? I can't tell you how many businesses I come across. They want to do this great marketing campaign, and then you go to the website and it's not complete, or it's not dialed in. There's grammar errors. Looks unprofessional. The people handling the phone are not really they do a promotion, then someone answers the phone, they don't even know about the promotion. So really the key to marketing really starts with the sales process internally. Is everyone in the business in tune with your message? Are they able to convey the benefits of the business, and then also turn those benefits into convey the features of the business, and then also turn those features into benefits. Everyone that is buying from you is buying for a reason, and mostly they have a problem and they're looking to your company to be the solution. So you need to be able to take the features of your business and then convert it into why it's a benefit to them. The easiest way to do it is, there's like 4 words: so that you can. It's like, we offer this feature so that you can, and solve whatever problem it is that they have. So, and another story that was really interesting was we had, same thing. We were selling like all these promotions and hype and sales success. And then we had this one client, he actually hired us for our account books. We had these like account books that just detailed all the administrative of the marketing program, their budgets, the calendars. It was really a way to at a glance, know exactly what you're spending, where you're spending it, how you're spending it. And this guy hired us just for that. And then over time, I learned from this guy, it's not, he had a different way of approaching success. He didn't have a brand like Toyota where he had tons of people coming in the door. So he was more focused on administrative, watching his costs, the customer experience, owning his real estate. So success comes in many, many different forms. And each business, really, you got to kind of look at, what is it you're selling? Who's your market? What is the potential? And, sometimes it comes down to like really managing your costs and, being a little conservative and, and kind of bootstrapping it along the way. And another thing I wanted to bring up with 2 books that really had a huge impact on me over my career. One book was called The E-Myth Revisited. It was back from 1985, this author, Michael Gerber. And the first thing I took, a lot of small businesses start out as people that were working in an industry and they decided to go out on their own and start a business. And the problem is a lot of these people are not really entrepreneurs. There's a difference, they're technicians. And a lot of small businesses, we have people that are technicians that think they're entrepreneurs, and we have entrepreneurs. And the difference is a technician is all about working in the industry, putting their hand down, maybe they're innovating, but really a lot of small business comes down to entrepreneurship, which is sales and marketing. It's being out there, it's prospecting, it's innovation, and Michael Gerber really, he made that really clear to me at the beginning, and I really took that to heart. And another thing he's all about is systematizing. Everything that you can systematize, you do it, and it makes it so much easier to grow. And we took that to heart. We had systems. We were able to grow from just handling dealerships in Los Angeles to San Diego to Seattle, Oregon, Idaho, and it was all because of systems. And then another book that really is the reason we're still in business today after 27 years was called The Alchemy of Growth. Another book that's 20 something years old, but the first chapter talks about having 3 horizons of growth. You have your core business, which is going to be 90% of your revenue. But any business, no matter how hard it is today, it's going to change. It's going to mature. There could be some kind of dramatic shift in the economy, in the industry that you're servicing, and it can all go away in a heartbeat, which happened to us. And so they talk about having 3 horizons of business. You have your core business, but then you need a second horizon, which is a business it's related to what you're doing, maybe it's an offshoot, maybe it's an additional service. And that business, it needs to be cultivated, and that should really be generating 10 to 20% of your revenue. Because when things change, if your core business matures or changes, you need to be able to shift gears and rely on that second horizon. And then the third horizon of business would be even something further down the road, more like ideas that are in the incubator. But you need that pipeline of business because, with us, we were, like I said, at the beginning, we were all 100% retail and automotive. And then the 2007 recession hit, and literally our business shut off. Like, we were down 70% overnight, no exaggeration. And it's because we got into video production as a second horizon to our business. It kept us alive. It was an additional revenue source. And then we were able to pivot and become a video production house. And that within 2 years, that became 70% of our business, where our traditional advertising became 30% of our business. And it's kind of still that way today. It's like 70% of our business today is video production. And video production really it's the most powerful branding tool we have today. People don't read. Media is completely fragmented. Back in the day, we had television, everyone watched TV. Now the younger generations they don't even look at a big screen. They're just looking at social media. They're looking at video on their phone. The older generations watching TV. So video is all important when it comes to branding. And the beauty of video is it doesn't matter where somebody's consuming media. Video can be adapted to any media source. And I'm going to show you a little demo reel just to show you some of the work we've done, just to give you an idea of the variety of video. So I'm going to share my screen real quick.
And by the way, Bill, I wanted to give you that we have the 5 minutes further.
That is perfect. So I'm going to show you I'll show you about 90 seconds of different videos we produce. And then I'll go into some of the, some tips for video. I guess, can you see my screen?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, great. I'm going to stop it here for the sake of time. But that just shows you all of those videos we produced here in-house, all the motion graphics, the filming. But as you can see, the variety, it's astounding. And the beauty of video is you make it your own, video like today, it can be conversational. It can be informational, and it can be entertainment. And the beauty of video is that, like I said, you make it your own. Once you understand your market, you know, you kind of have to think of it in terms, instead of like producing a video commercial. Like we were always about TV commercials. We're going to make you a TV commercials. Today, it's about, we're going to create assets that can be shown on television, assets that can be used on your website, video assets that can be used in your social media, on YouTube, digitally. And so the key to video really is to, you know, it's to plan, you know, it's the way you shoot it. You know, you got to shoot it with all this in mind. And, you know, the biggest cost of video production is actually filming. You know, you have to pay camera guys. Sometimes it's a location, it's scripting. So the key is get the most out of that you can, you know, film as much, you know, you focus on what your core thing you're filming for is, but then shoot for other assets as well that you can edit down the road. And you got to think in terms of multicultural. Sometimes we'll film something that's, you know, we'll use people that can kind of pass for any different ethnicity and do it with voiceover. So we could just swap out different voiceovers. Or sometimes we'll film for like English and Spanish, and we'll film the content in English real quick, then swap out the talent and film a little different creative with Hispanic talent. So it's all about planning, understanding that, you know, you sometimes you got to pivot. Sometimes you might start with TV, and then now you need something for social or for business to business. We had a client real quick, last story, this egg client called Chino Valley Ranchers Eggs. You can buy their eggs in Whole Foods, Gelson's, Sprouts, a little egg company out of they're like based out of Arcadia. And they hired us to actually create consumer-facing videos, TV commercials to promote Chino Valley Ranchers eggs. But the majority of their businesses, they actually are a white label service. They provide the eggs for Whole Foods 365 brand in Southern California, and also Costco, Kirkland Farms Organic Eggs are their eggs. And so we started working on this campaign to pitch Chino Valley Ranchers eggs. And then Whole Foods started creating this initiative where it was all about sourcing, you know, how their own products were sourced. And right away, the client called us, we need to change our scope. We need to create videos that show Whole Foods, you know, the humane treatment of our eggs, you know, of our hens, the feed that they're eating to create healthier eggs, the process, everything. And we were able to, because we shot in terms of assets, we were able to repurpose our assets and turn it into business to business videos. And that's how they've been using for the last 10 years.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's great, Bill. Wow, thank you so much. That's really, really insightful. All these great ideas about the holistic aspect of marketing. It's not just what you see on the outside. It's kind of the tip of the iceberg. I think I hear you saying there's what you don't see about marketing is your business process, is you know, your ability to be able to translate customer need into actionable steps. And so you really helped us see that. And then the video component, how important that is for video. I want to encourage everyone to direct questions to Bill in the chat, and he'll be able to answer those questions for you right there and keep the conversation going. And Bill, I just want to really thank you for those excellent insights, and thank you for being a part of the Alliance Network and for hanging out here so we can do some great Q&A in the chat.
Cool.
Wonderful, appreciate it. And our next presentation is entitled 7 Steps to Going Global by Julianne Hennessey. Julianne is director of the U.S. Commercial Service Los Angeles West, the export promotion arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce International Trade Administration. So in this capacity for the past 27 years, Julianne has assisted small to mid-sized companies reach their exporting potential by identifying key export markets, developing and implementing market entry strategies, and providing information on regulations and import requirements in markets all around the world. Julianne holds her master's degree in international affairs from George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and a bachelor's degree in business administration from USC. And she's been recognized by Women in International Trade Los Angeles as Outstanding Women of the Year in International Trade, not very long ago. So Julianne, please share with us, how do we take our companies, especially our Valley-based businesses, and go global and boost and exponentially increase revenues through international trade? Please, Julianne.
Well, thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you to the Economic Alliance for asking me to speak and to be a part of just these excellent speakers. And I'm happy to, well, let's put it this way, Sonia, I think, oh my goodness, yes, 27 years. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of change and a lot of growth and a lot of opportunities over the years with our company. So let me share my screen, and I'll get to my 7 steps here. So let me do this. Hang on, Sonia, 1 second. Get this right. And here's my presentation. Okay. Now, are we there?
Almost. It's starting to come up. It's
okay.
Starting to share your screen. There we go.
There we go. Okay,
beautiful.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, hello, everybody. And thank you for this opportunity, as I said, Sonia, in the Alliance, to let me just speak for a few minutes about exporting. And Bill, I very much appreciated your comments. And you mentioned that there are several phases, growth phases that companies go through, and just in their history. And I would like to say that exporting is a major component of that, in a major growth opportunity. And I tried, over my years of thinking about or working with companies in the export space, and that is what we do. My organization, the U.S. Commercial Service, our main focus is to help companies grow their business by exporting. And so we look at markets all over the world. We work with companies in numerous industry sectors, covering everything from building and construction to safety and security to healthcare technologies, aerospace and defense. We cover just a wide number of industry sectors, and try to help them grow their sales internationally. And we always hear the story, as I'm sure you've all heard, that the majority of customers are outside of the United States, and so we want to be able to take advantage of that as a business. And when you look, I always think these statistics are staggering. When you look at the size of our population, our U.S. population, we're 40 to 50 million, and when you look at the number of just the middle class in so many markets around the world, the middle class is the size of our population. So we have a lot of growth opportunity. Our companies have a lot of markets to expand into. So let me just give you in my world how I would approach this. And I'd like to just start off by saying that we as the Commercial Service, our goal, which is mandated by Congress, who is the one that obviously provides us with funding to be able to help businesses, that our focus is small to medium-sized businesses, because they're the economic drivers for job opportunities and just growth in the communities in which we live. And so our mandate is to work with small to medium-sized companies, and yet we certainly work with large companies. So it's not to say that we don't. It's just that the Congress wants us out helping businesses grow, which leads to employment. And as the statistics always show, that employment with companies that export, that the wages are higher. So you're taking on, you're looking at obviously a much broader perspective, and you're helping your companies grow. And so hopefully that leads to higher wages for you as an employee. So my first step would be interest in exporting. And I say this given all my experience, that companies that embrace international, embrace cultures, embrace just new opportunities, willingness to learn, to understand other cultures and how they do business, are the ones that are they're the ones that can succeed in exporting, because they recognize that obviously you need a commitment, You need patience. You need to develop relationships with partners, buyers, with understanding a market overseas. And so it comes back to, in my mind, to just being interested and committed, recognizing that there's a timeline involved. It's not going to happen overnight. You need to invest in commitment and your patience and your understand your timeline that is involved with exporting. That takes resources. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, not just financial, but you're going to need people who understand the export process and even from their perspective, that they're willing to be patient, to know that it takes time to develop markets overseas. Then I also am going to say, what is your customer base here? And I ask that and say that because if you are a successful business here and you are successfully selling in the United States, more than likely you will be successful selling internationally, because we have said this and we continue to say this. The US market is one of the most competitive markets in the world. We're very open to imports. We're very open. We have lots of companies that are innovative. They sell top-notch products. So you're not only competing with US companies, but you're obviously competing with companies that sell, international companies that are whose products are sold here. And so you go to our stores, no matter what it is, a hardware store, a cosmetics store, a beauty supply store, an apparel store, an auto parts store, you are competing with products from all over the world. And so if you can compete here, we want to say you can compete anywhere. And I also ask you to look at your international customers. And when I say international customers, if you are selling here more and you have a website, more than likely you are getting international looks on your website. You're having you're having potential buyers review your website. You may even, if you sell let's just say you have a cosmetic product, you sell that cosmetic product in a store, more than likely you have an international customer who has purchased that product. And so you want to look, well, where is my potential customer base? Do I have current customers? And you can do that through analytics on your website. If you, whether it's Google Analytics or whatever analytics program that you use, you can review where your potential customers are coming from the standpoint that how many customers and potential customers and markets are looking at your website. That can be an incredible potential for you to tap into in terms of markets to be looking at. And I of course reference website. Going back to Bill's point, I can't emphasize enough the focus that a website needs to have as a company if you are looking to sell internationally, not just domestically, because that's vitally important as well, but you take that internationally. And if you can develop the best website possible, that is your calling card, and that shows your focus, that shows your interest, the attention you're paying to attracting customers to your website. Are you looking at e-commerce sales? More than likely, if you have a website, you either are doing B2B sales, or you're doing B2C sales, but you're selling through e-commerce channels, and that's a whole different. Obviously, that's a sales channel for you. That can be a series of webinars in terms of how to successfully sell through e-commerce channels. But I just put that out there because it is a huge step for exporting. And I just want to emphasize as well, if you're a young company, you're thinking about starting a company, in my world, we ask that you think globally from the start. If you have a product or a service that you can sell here and you can translate that into international sales, think globally from the start. You may not be starting exporting from the beginning of your growth, but you will eventually move into that. So just be thinking about what it takes to be an international and a global company. All right, so that's step number one. So not to lose track of time here, develop an export plan would be my step number two. And I say that because obviously if you have a plan, it doesn't have to be that detailed. It can just be, as they always sometimes say, things start with a napkin. You have an interest in exporting, you have a commitment to it, you want to do it, you just start looking at developing an export plan. There are so many resources available, and I just want to emphasize this. There are so many resources available to help companies develop an export plan. The Small Business Development Centers, the SBA, we work with companies, the U.S. Commercial Service, helping develop an export plan. We have our District Export Council of Southern California, who have experts in the field of exporting, who can help companies develop an export plan. We also have the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, GoBiz. There are just a plethora of resources available to assist companies. And this is important because you can start very basic. You don't want to become overwhelmed, but do I have a product that's exportable? Where would I want to look at? What markets do I want to go to? What do I need to think about to sell my product internationally? Where would I sell through distribution channels, through a distributor? Would I just focus on e-commerce? Would I be willing to adapt my product? My product can be very successful here, but you may have to adapt it for, let's say, colors, for language requirements. You may, if let's say it's a facial product, something or a particular type of nutritional supplement, you may have to adapt that product depending upon the market that you're selling it to. So these are the things that will be brought out in an export plan. And as you develop that plan, you'll start thinking of it, and you can keep expanding it as your opportunities become available, as you become more sophisticated in your export markets. So this is just a touch on the surface because obviously time is limited, but I just want to bring out these would be my areas of focus if I just had my quick steps to exporting, as I said. So protecting your intellectual property is number 3. And I say that because you want to be aware of that from the get-go. So even as you start, even if you're answering inquiries, or you have your fantastic website, you're beginning to get international inquiries. If you think you would eventually sell into that market, you want to protect your intellectual property. And so again, that's a whole nother area that you want to focus on. Plenty of resources to help you do that. And that's a point I want to underscore through every step in my 7 steps here. There are so many resources to help you. So this is not to overwhelm you. This is just to say you want to be thinking of that. If you have a trademark, if you have a product, if you are going to be looking internationally, before you even get started with let's say even establishing a website overseas, you want to be able to protect your property. So check with a lawyer, your attorneys about that. We can certainly refer you. Other organizations that I referenced above can refer you, but you want to be aware of how you need to protect your intellectual property. So not just your trademarks, but your website, your URL, all the different aspects of your website, let's say, you want to be able to protect that. So again, just put that out there, food for thought. You want to be thinking about that. Next step would be your financial resources. What am I running out of time?
Just 4 more minutes, by the way.
Okay, very good, very good. So just to quickly summarize here, financial resources. I know there'll be discussions on that. What are your resources? I want to highlight one area here. GoBiz, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, California Governor's Office, they basically implement the STEP funding, the Straight Trade Expansion Program. And this is an SBA program that GoBiz implements, and companies can be eligible to $3,000 to $5,000, and you can use this as long as you're focusing on some aspect of exporting. It can be used for your website, it can be used for translation, it can be used for product literature. You can review their steps and the process that you have to go through to apply for it. But I highly encourage you to look at that, and I can certainly send you information about that. You've got SBA, XM, alternative financing options, and the key that you're going to want to look at is your company bankable? So you want to work with your banker to find out, how can I be bankable? How can I qualify for SBA funding, XM funding? The next step you want to look at, step 5, is export regulations. I want to just bring this to your attention. Not all countries can be exported to, and you need to know whether or not you that you would require a license for exporting, and can you sell to the person in that market? So you want to check lists. You want to make sure you know which countries you and cannot sell to. It's all available on BIS's website. Again, I can point you to that direction. And my final point is participating in trade events. This is a key area for us. We are actively engaged with trade shows. We're actively engaged with trade missions, and also as the commercial service, working in collaboration with many partners. We organize trade events, we organize trade missions, we do everything we can to connect, to get you into a market, to understand a market, and to connect you to foreign buyers. So that is our goal. Whatever you're looking at, whether you're looking to sell through distribution, whether you're looking to sell through different types of sales channels, we can help you identify the buyer or marketplaces. We can help point you in the right direction. But the bottom line is, please know that we're very actively engaged with connecting you and helping you understand markets that you can export to. Finally, your partner in exporting is your freight forwarder. You'll want to make sure you have a freight forwarder that becomes your partner. So I mentioned here the Los Angeles Customs Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association. Again, just to be aware, your freight forwarder can be your incredible partner in the export process. So thank you. With that, I will turn it back over and stop sharing my screen.
Wonderful, Julianne. Wow, really great. Very clear 7 steps. We're going to make these available to everyone who's registered for the event, and we'll put that on our website as well. And you'll be able to find that information on the same page where you registered for today's program, so that you will be able to revisit that. I also popped in the chat of the Alliance's own export guide from when we did an export program where we focused just on exporting. And Julianne mentioned some wonderful resources and emphasized the amount of resources there are for you at each of the 7 steps. And so we've got more details about some folks who can be of assistance, and Julianne is foremost among them. She's just such a wealth of information, as are all of our speakers today. So we have talked about marketing and sales from the fabulous Bill Jaros. Thank you so much, Bill, for those great comments. And we've talked about taking your business global and increasing your international sales, maybe even starting with your analytics, looking at who's already buying through your e-commerce, through your website from other countries, and then doubling down on that, really making your website international facing and appealing to international customers. So thank you, Julianne Hennessey, for that wonderful presentation. Now we're going to turn our attention to financing strategies for growing businesses, beginning with traditional financing for growth. So I'm going to be honored to moderate our distinguished panel this morning, including Nairy Sajonian, Relationship Manager for Business Banking Group at Comerica, Jeffrey Boyer, Senior Vice President, Los Angeles Region North for Citizens Business Bank, and Ruben Aldana, a small business banker with Wells Fargo Bank in Chatsworth. So I'm going to start by introducing our panelists, and then I'll pose them a question and we can get some more conversation going. While I'm doing that, I do want to encourage you to put questions for Julianne in the chat, and Julianne will be able to field those questions by placing answers in the chat. If you have questions for our bankers as well, do begin to put those in the chat so that they'll be able to answer them and get some questions answered. So as relationship manager for Business Banking Group at Comerica, Nairy Sajonian works with mid-sized companies with annual revenues of $5 to $50 million. She's responsible for managing lending and depository aspects of the banking relationship. Nairy began her career 11 years ago as a part-time teller with Comerica Bank and has never looked back. She's held various positions with increasing responsibility, has become a trusted advisor to her clients, as she has offered invaluable expertise to help them grow their businesses. She incidentally did work in sales and marketing for a food equipment manufacturer prior to banking. Related to that, Nairy earned her bachelor's degree in food science engineering and an MBA from Woodbury University. So we're happy to say Nairy is on the board of the Alliance, one of our executives in residence, providing pro bono mentoring to our business clients in our business assistance program. And she's a valued member of our Valley of the Stars Gala Committee, which honors exemplary achievement in the Valley. So Nairy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being a panelist with us. You know, as was mentioned before earlier in the program, this question of being bankable, or this necessity, this imperative of being bankable. And so I want to put that question to you, whether it's for global sales or growing a business domestically. How do you and how does Comerica define a bankable small business? How do we get there? Really wrap our brains around this idea of bankability. If you can demystify that for us, Nairy, Sajonian.
Of course. Thank you, Sonia. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity today. I'm excited to be a part of this panel. That's a very good question, and I'm sure there's a lot of business owners here that they're looking for funding, they're looking for more capital to expand their business. So there are fundamentally couple of caveats that every bank is looking when it comes to financing or lending opportunity when it's being presented from a small business owner. That it's very important. Those categories are basically the fundamental of a lending, that how the bank is basically determining if the borrower is qualified for any sort of financing. The number one category is character. What the character means, it includes the business and the guarantors, who's the business owners, credit background, anything that could define them as they made their payment on time. The FICO score is what it's supposed to be. Most of the banks, the minimum requirement of the FICO score is 650 and above. That's part of the character, and why it's important, because again, that's one of the categories that the bank is making sure that if you're making your payment on time on your personal side, if you have existing credit card in your business or personal side and you make them on time, that's one of the categories that you make sure that you will pay your loan once we present it to you on time as well, and there is not going to be any gap. The second category that we'll look at is to be able to be a bankable. It's a capacity. In a simple world, what capacity means is the borrower ability to pay the bank back. In a real world, all of this is the bank to define how you're going to pay us back. That's the most important thing. In a financial world, we call that capacity cash flow. What cash flow means, your liquidity, available liquidity that you can pay us back. So in a simple way, we take, or any bank, which is the same way of most of the bank calculated cash flow, is they take your available cash that you have and they take it to their debt and then come up with a number that represents the cash flow. There is a more in detail, I don't want to go too much of in the financial numbers, but that's what defined as a borrower capability to pay the bank back. Again, most of the bank go with the same numbers, same calculations. That's called capacity. The borrower ability, if they're going to pay the bank back. The third category is collateral. That's one of the other most important categories that you can be defined as a bankable. When you are representing a request for a borrowing base, if it's a working capital, such as line of credit, the collateral could be your accounts receivables. It could be anything under or your inventory that could be a collateral. The other type of a collateral could be your commercial real estate that you're currently occupying. That could be a collateral. There are other type of collaterals that could be defined, but it's very rare for business owners that you use. You could use a marketable security or a CD locked in some period of time that you can use as a collateral. But most of the common one, it's your accounts receivable, which we call UCC1, which is a first lien on all business assets, or it could be a commercial real estate that we can rely on. There is very, very restricted rules. If you want to go without a collateral and unsecured loan, the requirement is kind of tough, and because the risk is going to be higher. So that is in a discussion basis, but as a general, anytime you're approaching in a bank, in order to borrow money, you will need to have some sort of a collateral. However, there are other programs that SBA provides for startups which not all the banks provide. We don't, which is you can use without a collateral just to start a capital for your business, and those are microloans. The other category is capital. What capital means, it's your available assets on the business side and on your personal side. What type of assets you have, and what is it that we're looking at as a big picture. The last category is condition, which is the overall picture of all of those items that we talked about: character, capacity, collateral, capital, and condition. In what condition the borrower is, as far as economically, what are we looking at? What is the industry is heading? What is the bank read and the risk evaluation of, is this the industry that can sustain and could be moved on and it has a growth opportunity, or is something that currently it's in a risk in the financial world and we won't be able to rely on so much on their performance as far as the industry. So these 5 basically category, again, character, capacity, collateral, capital, and conditions. These are the 5 items that define that which business owner is bankable.
Awesome. Thank you, Nairy. That was very, very helpful to kind of lay all that out for us. Any questions, please put that in the chat, and Nairy will be here to be able to answer additional questions. That's very helpful. Next, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Boyer, a Senior Vice President, Los Angeles Region North for Citizens Business Bank. And Jeff joined the bank in 2008 and helped establish the San Fernando Valley Business Financial Center. Jeff successfully managed that center for 4 years and then joined Community Bank as market president in 2014, overseeing 6 of those banking centers and the food and agricultural lending group. Then in August of 2018, Citizens Business Bank acquired Community Bank, and Jeff rejoined the team. So he's now responsible for the 9 business financial centers in northern Los Angeles. And Jeff graduated from Cal State University Northridge with a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Accounting, and earned his MBA in Finance from Loyola Marymount University. So Jeff, thanks for being with us. We really appreciate Citizens Business Bank's involvement in our Executives in Residence program as well, providing that pro bono mentoring to our businesses, our enrolled businesses in our business assistance program. And I want to ask you, so we're hearing a lot about the how-tos and those 5 C's of credit, and we learned a lot about that. Now, tell us a little bit about the pitfalls that you're seeing. Where are businesses falling short? What are some of the red flags so that we can be careful to avoid those? So what would you suggest as pitfalls that you're seeing that you would advise our participants here today to avoid? Jeff?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sonia, for giving me the opportunity and the bank out the opportunity to be a presenter. You know, there's a number of pitfalls that I've seen throughout my 28-year banking career as far as small businesses and getting started up. The biggest pitfall I've seen them fall into is not having a business plan. Sounds pretty simple, right? Throwing together a business plan, it shouldn't take that long. That's the most important piece of putting together your business. And a business plan, it really defines the company's short-term and long-term business goals, and it's very specific in how it plans, to achieve its goals, from financial goals, brand awareness, marketing goals. It also keeps everyone at the company on the same page about action items and targets it needs to achieve. And for startup companies, a business plan is an absolute must in order to attract investors, for those that want to have investors. So that's the biggest one I see that small businesses don't have, is a business plan. Another, large pitfall that causes small businesses not to reach their potential is a lack of financing sources or access to capital to support growth in the business. So, some small businesses have, significant personal wealth to draw from, or possibly they have, they're able to have family and friends to provide loans. to survive, help them survive in the early stages. However, at some point, a company does need to stand on its own. And in the event that personal funds and loans from friends or family are limited, the best source of funding are lines of credit from financial institution or loans from the SBA. But with these sources, businesses have to be in business for at least a couple of years and be able to demonstrate they're a financially viable company, i.e. they have the profitability, have the financial ratios, good working capital, a solid net worth. So it's very, very important for small businesses to position themselves as independent and position themselves to become bankable companies in the future. As far as the third item I have, this could be the one I've seen companies that have really struggled is over dependence on a few large customers for most of their revenue, or a few vendors for most of their supplies, is another pitfall that small businesses need to avoid. Relying upon one or two, clients or vendors, which we all call concentrations, can be very dangerous. If one of these clients were to leave you, you risk losing revenue to support overhead expenses, and it may take a very long time to replace these clients, if at all. So every business wants to be as diversified as possible in every aspect of their business. And so no one client or vendor can dictate how you run your business. The fourth one would be, pitfall is failing to reward and acknowledge top performing employees. So retention has never been more challenging than it is today. In every business, you see that. And so rewarding and promoting top performers and helping them to feel a sense of ownership is absolutely critical towards retaining them long term. I mean, some larger businesses have the ability to give equity in the company in the form of stock grants or stock options. For smaller businesses that don't have that option, asking for input from your top performers on important company decisions makes them feel have a sense of ownership. And again, promoting from within. I've seen this happen as well, where those key employees that are passed over, that maybe are critical, but possibly a company's looking from the outside to try to pull and add to talent, where they forget about those loyal employees that have performed very well over the course of time. That's also very critical that they recognize those employees. So I got two more here that are pitfalls. In one that this is one client that I came across early in my career, thinking you can make all key business decisions by yourself without receiving input. And again, this was an individual that again, very, very capable, had to run a good business, but kind of was hitting some issues that relates to competition and really understand what the competition was doing. So they made this employee, this owner, retention was a big problem.
Sorry about that. Please continue.
No problem. So what happened too, this individual spread himself too thin and was unable to think strategically about the future of the company. So and spend most of his time putting out fires rather than focusing on the business. So again, having a good group around you, particularly those within the company and also external folks as well, which is my last point. I think this is hiring a CPA that provides very little advice and guidance in running your business is very dangerous. I think aside from attracting and retaining top talent, working with a CPA that serves as a consultant to your business is one of the most important business decisions you can make. Some CPAs will simply do your tax returns and year-end financial statements, but the most valuable ones, they'll review your cost structure, introduce you to the best source of capital for your business, and serve in an advisory role in many aspects of your business. And the best ones, are seen as more as a business partner, and you don't have to give them any equity in the company as well. And the same thing could be said for the bank you work with. Is your bank pushing more products and services on you that you don't need? Or are they offering solutions to help your business grow and become more efficient? So those are probably 5 or 6 pitfalls I see, companies that they fall into and they have to overcome. But with the right planning and strategy, they can, particularly having a business plan, they can be very successful.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. That was very, very helpful, very insightful, and so clear to have those specific pitfalls laid out for us. Really appreciate that. Any questions for Jeff? Please put those in the chat and he'll be able to field them there. And our final panelist for this particular panel, and by the way, our overall program goes until 11:30, so be sure to stay all the way to hear all of our great speakers, is Ruben Aldana. So Ruben has been a small business banker with Wells Fargo for 5.5 years and was a relationship banker and small business specialist at JP Morgan Chase for 4 years prior to that. He has a wonderful wealth of knowledge to share with us today. And I'd love to pass the proverbial mic over to Ruben to share with us our questions. So with all that said, Ruben, very much would like your opinion on what advice do you have for businesses, particularly small businesses that are seeking financing today? If you would just amplify anything that's been said or add to the mix with some new insights, whatever you can share from your body of knowledge, Ruben, please join us.
Well, thank you very much, Sonia. Thanks a lot for the invitation. We're happy to be here. Yes, I did want to add a couple things. I think for businesses that are looking for financing, there's 3 points that I want to add. The first point is every business owner should know where they stand with their credit. And I encourage the business owner to review their credit report. And everyone should know that if you go to annualcreditreport.com, you're able to get your credit report at no cost. That way you know what's going on with your credit, and you ensure that every major credit reporting agency has accurate information so that you look less risky to the lender that you're speaking with or to the bank that you're speaking with. So always review that credit report. It's important, it's crucial that you mitigate any kind of risk on your behalf. The second point that I want to point out is every business owner should continue to educate themselves on not only their credit, but also the different products that their local bank might offer. So learning about credit cards, business lines of credit, business loans, to understand different borrowing options is important. That way you know what is it that you're getting into. It would be important to create a relationship with your local business banker or relationship manager. That way you understand what the bank has to offer and how they differ from particularly another bank, how they work with the SBA, what are their rates, what are their terms. I think this is important so that you have options rather than just seeking one solution. I think it's also important to have a clear purpose as to how much financing you're seeking and a clear purpose for the funds. The bank will be asking, what is it that you need the funds for? And the more clear and concise you are with the bank, the better you'll be in your application and the less risky you'll seem. My final point really is to have your business financials in order. A lot of the times our business owners, and particularly the startups, they don't have the guidance, or they may not have seen a CPA just yet. I would encourage that business owner to create a relationship with a CPA that can help organize their business financials. This will help them learn how tax affects them and their business. And when you're going through the application at a bank or at a lender, having that CPA as a resource will be super important so that you have the appropriate tax returns, balance sheets, profit and loss statements, so that you are ready to take on the funds from that bank. And you also learn where you stand financially, and hopefully you can mitigate that risk for the bank. So just to summarize, continue to educate yourselves around credit, develop that relationship with your business banker or relationship manager, develop the relationship with the CPA to understand how tax will affect you, to understand what kind of financials to have in order. And I would even encourage to speak to them on a quarterly basis. You know, a lot of times we'll speak to the CPA once a year, or business owners will speak to CPA once a year, but you would want to speak to them on a quarterly basis. We think about increasing revenue and decreasing our expenses. One of the largest expenses is tax. So I encourage every business owner to speak to their CPA. Planning and preparation is crucial to secure the funds that you need with the bank. And I encourage you to seek out all of your resources, educate yourselves on these 3 points. And there's a great resource through Wells Fargo. You can go to wellsfargo.com/biz, B-I-Z, where you'll be able to see a lot of great insights, a lot of great articles that talk about credit, that talk about SBA, that talk about commercial real estate financing. So I implore that every business owner out there goes and looks at this website so that you can read up to see how Wells Fargo can help. And that summarizes my key points here. Sonia, back to you.
Oh my goodness. Awesome, Ruben. Thank you. So appreciative of all those really great points. Thanks for being with us and just being an ongoing resource for us so that we can continue to come back and get more information and dive deeper. So wonderful. I'd like to thank all 3 of our panelists on our traditional lending panel, Nairy Sajonian with Comerica Bank, Jeffrey Boyer with Citizens Business Bank, and Ruben Aldana from Wells Fargo. And now I'm going to introduce the moderator of our next and final panel, which will take us to the end of our program. Our next panel on creative financing and private equity, and our moderator, Brett Dickstein. So Brett is a business advisor who has worked with early stage ventures for many years to help them commercialize and fund their ideas from inception all the way to market. And in the beginning of his career, Brett worked with multinational consulting firms and investment banks. So he gained a lot of knowledge there. And then he spent the next season supporting startups and growth-oriented businesses, sharing with them what they need to know to test market innovative products on the pathway to becoming investment ready. So he's a wonderful wealth of information. He has his master's in public finance from Columbia University and his bachelor's from Emory College. We're so thrilled that he helps to coach and consult companies here with the Valley Economic Alliance. And with that, I'd like to have Brett go ahead and take over and manage our next panel. Brett, morning.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Welcome to our panel on creative financing and private equity. We have a very diverse group of professionals that work alongside businesses to help them become more financially resilient in this tough economy. So joining us today, we've got Silva Agasyan, a vice president at Mission Valley Bank, Colette Moore, a vice president of PCR Business Finance and the director of the Small Business Development Center there. Andrew Krone is a senior vice president at Marble Bridge Funding Group. And Lucas Poles is the incoming president of Tech Coast Angels and the founder of Spark XYZ. So we've got a pretty diverse group of alternative lenders and investors here. So to kick things off, starting with Silva, Colette, Andrew, and Lucas, would each of you introduce yourselves? And since you all have a pulse of the LA County entrepreneurial ecosystem, can you give us a sense of the type of financial solutions that you see small businesses gravitating towards at this time?
Sure. Should I start or?
Sure.
Okay. My name is Silva Agasyan. I'm a relationship manager with Mission Valley Bank. Thank you so much to the Alliance and this forum and the opportunity to share some of our insight. Just a couple of minutes on Mission Valley Bank. We are a full service community oriented bank. We have a wide variety of products and services within our platform, and we cater to our small businesses by means of really understanding their cash flow cycle, the intricate parts of their cash operations, and the operating cycle of the business. In terms of the question that was asked, what do we see small businesses really gravitate to in this uncertain times with respect to inflation and, coming out of the pandemic? There's a lot of variables that go into this. From a high level, it is important in our view that every business owner maintain a broad-based view of overall economic environment. It is important that businesses keep in mind that just as we are individually adjusting coming out of this pandemic and getting acclimated to a lot of new norms, so are business owners, so are businesses, so is, quite frankly, our economy. In many sense, companies are scrambling to deal with increasing commodity prices, supply constraints. There is higher wages in the labor force, and all of that is a cause. We see a lot of businesses rethink pricing, rethink marketing strategies. They are trimming on expenses. There is, they're reinvesting in various aspects of technology, perhaps to eliminate certain processes and, make certain things more efficient. Definitely, companies are working on creating more bonds and long-term partnerships and relationships. If a company was poised for expansion of growth, maybe they're rethinking some of that strategy and putting in place some specific steps and putting that putting a longer time horizon in that regard. And the most important thing in our view is that companies are more actively seeking advice, consulting with financial advisors, with their CPAs, with their attorneys, with their bankers, because times are changing, the economic environment is changing, the regulatory environment is changing, and companies are more and more hungry, such as this forum, to get information, to get access to a network, which is so important for their long-term success.
Thank you very much, Silva. All right, Colette, if you could give us a brief intro of yourself and also just a sense as well as the type of financial solutions that you're seeing small businesses kind of leaning towards right now.
Thank you, Brett, and good morning, everybody. Colette Moore with PCR Business Finance, previously Pacific Coast Regional. So we've been around for 45 years providing funding and also technical assistance. I'm the director of the SBDC here. I was also a past client. So I had a business, a staffing franchise business with PCR, and I'll tell people I was a good client and I was a bad client. There were so many things that I wish I had understood, that even with an MBA from Anderson and undergrad at UCLA in engineering, that you still need a lot of help and you need to understand some things, particularly, first of all, is understanding your numbers and understanding your cost. And so, Silva, thank you for sharing the background on the economy, because as people are going forward now, they're moving away from things like the EIDL, the emergency disaster loans, and the PPPs, and so much of the grant money that was available. Those resources have essentially completely ended. There are very few grants available. The free money is not available. And so now businesses are looking for other forms of financing. They are looking for loans while at the same time concerned about some of the loans that they've already taken on. So trying to have a global view of their lending and how is that going to come together? So one of the things they're doing is looking at revenue growth. You've got to be able to grow, but right now with a potential recession kind of nipping at our heels, one of the other areas is cost and expenses. You really got to dig in. And I encourage all of the business owners on this call to make sure you understand your numbers. You got to know what your costs are so that you can impact those now. Don't wait till the recession comes. Go back, look at those banking statements. We've had clients do that and found like $900 of charges that are just being charged like every month or every year, that they're not even using those resources. So go back, look at your look at your banking, look at how you're spending your money. Are there efficiencies that you can find in your system as well? So you want to save time and money to prepare yourself, because the key thing is to survive and to be sustainable. So many of the businesses, I'm so happy, survived the pandemic. They leveraged their resources. They got the help that they needed from the SBDC or Valley Economic Alliance, other resources to be able to stay in business and survive. And as it comes to lending, prepare now so that you will be able to go out and get a loan as needed in advance of when you really need it. And first of all, is to making sure that you're profitable and sustainable now and into the future. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you very much, Colette. All right, Andrew, so you're up, and please give us also a sense of the sort of alternative financial solutions and factoring solutions that you're seeing small businesses kind of moving towards right now.
Okay, thank you, Brad, and thank you, Sonia and the VA for inviting us to speak today. So Marble Bridge Funding Group, we've been around 24 years now. I've been here 22 years, senior VP. I work with thousands of bankers, financial consultants, the SBDCs throughout the state of California, VA, and other organizations providing advice on financing, but also we are a direct lender. We have a particular niche, and that niche is receivable finance and purchase order finance. And so on those areas, we're dealing with companies that are B2B, business to business, or business to government. And we deal with startups of companies who are about 50 million a year in revenue. Over the last couple of years, we've gone through some very interesting times. And now we're going through a whole new wave of interesting times as inflation has now started really to pick up, and probably will pick up and stay that way for a couple of years in our view. And going into that direction, businesses are going to have to figure out how to navigate the new economic environment we're in. And as some of the other speakers have alluded to, the government has been central, the SBDCs, VA, they've been central to help small business, the PPP, the EIDL loans. They've all come to an end, and they have helped a tremendous amount of businesses survive. We are seeing a lot of those now. We're seeing definitely a trend in our direction. We've gone through all of these economic cycles for over 20 years now, and we get busier in this environment because credit's going to get tighter. It's going to continue to get tighter as we go down this pathway. And so these businesses who have these types of loans, who have been able to leverage the money to stay alive or turn their business around, are now looking for additional working capital. So up and down the state right now, we've seen a tremendous uptick in requests. We know it's just beginning. So businesses that can adjust in this environment and can seek new opportunities, because every type of environment offers new opportunities. We could be here to fund up to $5 million a month. We have the advice for you. We have the contacts for you, and we'd be glad to give you, information on what we do on receivables. A lot of people really don't understand the model, and it's been around, for, before even banking existed, receivable finance. But in this type of environment, we're going to play a major role. And I would say that suppliers are probably going to slow down on payments. It's going to create cash flow issues, and we're going to become even more important to fill that gap.
All right, thanks so much, Andrew. Very informative. So Lucas, same question with your investor hat on that rounds off the field here.
Yeah, sure. So Lucas Bowles, I'm incoming president for Techos Angels, Los Angeles. So we mainly deal with venture-backed companies. So early stage startups that are really kind of shooting for the moon. We look at all types of, we're industry agnostic, I guess is the best way to put it, on the types of actual businesses. And we mainly focus, again, on venture-backed, not the lifestyle side. Solutions for the SMBs and funding. Our funding for the early stage model doesn't change much, whether it's in a recession or not. And so for us, it's not terribly different. Prices from our perspective just come down on us actually doing the investing. But I have seen a lot more success with grants for some of our early stage companies actually going through and being able to pick those up more specific towards the technology sector.
All right, super. Thank you everyone for the brief intros and sharing your perspectives. I know you're all super in tune with what's going on in the market. You know, you're seeing businesses dealing, you know, with supply chain issues, with transportation and logistics bottlenecks that disrupts their business models. You've got human resource shortages. You've got changes in consumer behavior and their demand. We're dealing with the rising cost of goods sold. We've got bigger shipping expenses, higher employment costs, higher interest rates, cash flow challenges because of all this, just to name a few. So in response, you know, as Silva had mentioned in the beginning, businesses are trying to kind of pivot and reimagine, you know, what their operational and financial priorities are. So with that in mind, there's a lot there. It's a two-part question for everyone who wants to jump in. Can you provide an example of like why some businesses you've supported are adapting to these challenges in the economy better than others and better positioned for the type of financing that you facilitate?
This is Silva. So at Mission Valley Bank, we really try to take an approach. Yes, all the C's of credit that was talked about matters. Yes, absolutely, a business plan matters. Yes, all the aspects of the environment play a role, but every business is different. Every business is unique. To the extent that we can, we come to the table trying to understand our client, get to know them. And by understanding, we really take our time. If there is a way to approve a credit request, we really try to work hard to figure out a solution. We don't always require historical cash flow to approve loans. It's a new approach. We look at the business, we try to understand from a global perspective, but that's something we have done in our specific space, where historically projections have sort of been a space more in line within the SBA realm. We are finding more and more, we try to find a way to make projections work in our traditional realm of financing. In the space of receivable financing, we try to do something that is not quite the traditional asset-based facility, not so much the factoring, but somewhere in between to meet the needs of the business. And balance. It's a little bit of a balancing act that we try to also do as a bank to accommodate the needs of the client. We really try to find a way to work around concentrations, right? I mean, times are difficult. A lot of businesses do have those relationships for a long time, and sometimes concentration can play a role in the traditional space of the credit box that we talked about. So I guess ultimately the idea is to understand the client, to work with them, to understand their support unit, their CPA, their attorney, the business owners, and really see if there is a way to make a business grow and achieve to the level that they aspire to achieve. I hope I answered the question, but really the bottom line is to know the business and help them move along and make their goals. So.
Okay, that's super helpful. Yeah, that's a great answer. And would anyone else like to chime in on why, you know, you've seen some businesses that you're helping just adapt better to these challenges in the marketplace and why they're maybe more better positioned to get the financing, you know, opportunities that you're offering versus others?
I think one thing is that they are doing something. So some of our businesses kind of just put their head in the sand and were just overwhelmed by the pandemic. And so the ones that have succeeded and continue to move forward were really looking for alternatives. How could they be successful? So we have one client, a women's boutique. She went deep into e-commerce. And we know a lot of businesses that went e-commerce with either products or services and created menus and found ways to reach and solve problems for their customers. And so, or even find new customers along the way. And so I think the pivoting aspect was really key, but also counting their cost and then staying abreast of all of the available programs that were, you know, out there, And then also this particular client was able to come to us and get a refinance a loan that they had and be able to expand as part of that, and then also hire someone else. So I think you've got to do something. Start looking at your numbers, work on your profit projections while you are figuring out a new client or how you can leverage your existing client, which our marketing expert shared earlier. How can you go deeper into some of your client bases to expand your business? But do something, start moving. Don't just sit there and wait for stuff to happen.
All right. Okay. Lucas and Andrew, you guys want to add a quick minute or two, and then we got to wrap up this session. But
Yeah, I would say from the new businesses that are coming into us, part of the analysis today, and I will say on the underwriting for all the panels here as far as finance, we have the easiest, fastest. We can get people done in 5 days. So we're a lot easier to work with, where underwriting standards are actually getting tighter. We're not so concerned about concentration risk and some of the other issues. So I just want people to know that and to explore their financial options if they're interested. But the new clients are trying to come in here, gathering of the financials and getting to know your business from the ground up. We're going to add whatever value we can to figure out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and we're going to be very straightforward with you, because we bring you in here, you should be growing your business. That's why you're joining up with us as a potential client. And so we're helping them realize that. We're checking to see how they're going to handle inflation, what they're doing in their contracts, if they have long-term contracts, like a contract over a year, how they're going to protect themselves from materials going up and what they're going to do to handle that, or labor issues. So we give them all that advice from one side, and we give them additional advice with either SBDC or VEA if we got to send them to others that can help dive into weaknesses that they have. And from the established clients, these are businesses that are in and they have potential to grow. That's why they're here. And they can't get it from traditional banks. They can't get it from other types of lenders or some of what you see the vulture capital guys online. So we're able to fill that gap and give them sort of unlimited funding, because we don't put a credit limit on our clients. We can easily fund up to $5 million a month. So when we bring them in, we're able to teach them how to change their business in order to get better cash flow so they can grow even faster and eventually graduate from us back to a traditional bank.
all right, super. Lucas, did you want to add anything or any tips on how the businesses you're working with, looking for venture capital, could be more resilient and more attractive to the investors?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little, I guess, tag on to what Colette said. It's the ones that were successful and still are successful and probably will be successful through the recession is the ones that made the tough decisions early. And so they didn't delay, they didn't, whether it's letting employees go, changing pay scales, they acted quickly when that happened, and they were able to shore up what they were doing a lot faster and give them a longer runway. So that's, yeah.
All right, super. So look, we have 4 really talented individuals that really have the pulse of the market here. So I'd encourage everyone, we'll share their contact information. If you want to reach out and get some tips on how your business might be able to adapt and become more resistant and more attractive to financiers, if you want to get ideas on your longer term strategy and how you can align that with your priorities moving forward, I highly encourage you to reach out to our panelists independently, and I'm sure they're going to be able to share a wealth of knowledge with you and help you moving forward. Thank you very much, everyone.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Brett, and all of our wonderful panelists for that really insightful conversation. And that brings us to the end of our program. I am very happy to announce the winner of our $150 gift certificate to the Horseless Carriage Restaurant by Galpin Motors and their wonderful facility. And it's Ajit Dojani. So welcome. Congratulations, Ajit. Erica will be emailing you with information about how you will be able to access that. Congratulations. And then Erica, if you wouldn't mind reposting the information on the Loot Player and how everyone can get their Loot Player. Now, also be aware you are not alone. I'm hoping, if nothing else, that everyone has that understanding, and the Alliance is here to help. I've just put at the very bottom of the chat the enrollment form to get involved with our business assistance program, and we'd be happy to help you navigate through some of all of these issues. And then be sure to come to our upcoming programs. So we have committee meetings tomorrow and the next day, and every month we have something. So I'm putting in the chat here, upcoming events. The link is thevalley.net/events. So with that, I just wish everyone a very, very productive week. Take good care, stay close to the Alliance, close to your business advisors, and take some action. We appreciate all of you. Thank you to our sponsors and our speakers and all of you for being here today. Have a great day, and we hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.